Julius Caesar Civil War. Here we go. Book 1, Chapter 11. Erat iniqua condicio. Okay, so there was erat, unequal conditions or unequal condition, an unfair condition. Postulare, which is to postulate, to demand, ut that Caesar, the nominative, after the comma, where before this condicio was about the sentence before. So, amino excederit. So the conditions which were unfair were to demand that Caesar would exceed, he would leave, go out of, the ex means out of. This place is in the ablative, so this is where he's going out of, from araminum. And in provinciam, in with the accusative, reverter. He would revert. And after the ut, we have reverter, which means so Caesar, he would go out of this place and he would return in province. And since he's returning there, it must be his own province. The province he was in charge of. Ipsum, this is Pompey himself in the accusative. Et provincias, this is provinces and legions, alienus tenere. So Pompey himself, this is et and et, so it's a correlative, so it will be both provinces and the legions. Tenere, he's going to hold alienus, which are provinces of other people. Provincias, as, alienus, as. And the exitum Caesaris, which is genitive, velle. So he wanted to dismiss the exercitum of Caesar, he wanted to dismiss the army of Caesar, and to habere, to have a delectus, which is an enrollment, a recruiting drive. Okay, there was a slight change in the text. I went with the Loeb version, which has Caesaris in the genitive and nondum, which is in the other one. So pollicere, which means to promise. It's a deponent from pollicio. So to promise to say himself, in provinciam Iturum. So the promise into the province, he promised the Iturum he was about to go into, nequi ante, and not before quem diem Iturus sit, defanere. And so he wouldn't define or set a diem, a day, before which he would Iturus, before he would set out. So this here is still talking about Pompey. So he promised that the province he was about to go into, he wouldn't define which day before he was going to set out, so that if per acto consultu Caesaris, nondom perfectus esset. So that per acto consulto, these are ablative forms, this means his consulship, Caesaris, genitive, per acto means finished or completed. So utsi, that if, with the consulship completed of Caesar, he would not yet have set out. So basically that's why he didn't define which day he was going to set out. And nulla tamen, so nevertheless, nulla mendaci, that means he would be no lie, religione obstrictus videritur, which means it would seem that so it would be by no lie, it would seem to be obstrictus into religion, in his religion. Religion's in the ablative. So obstrictus means constricted or tied in. And if we put it all together, you say that he promised he would be going into his province, but not before he wouldn't define a date in advance, so that when Caesar had finished his consulship, he would not yet have set out. And by nevertheless, or yet through this, there would be no lie, it would seem, tying him in religiously to it. So tempus is the time, neuter, viro is but, so it's a second word starting the sentence, so that's how Latin does it. So, but time, colloquio non dare. But so there wasn't time given for a colloquio, for a conversation or any debate or negotiations, as they call it. And neither accessorum pollicere, neither did he promise that he would go to meet him, accessorum, that's the future. And he would go, so he didn't give any time for this conversation or promise that he would even go to have any conversation. Magnum pacis desperationem afferabat. Afferabat's the verb. Magnum desperation means it was a great despair, the genitive of peace. And afferabat just means bringing, basically. So this brought a great despair for peace. Itaque, and so ab Aramenus, so from Aramenus, M. Antonium, Mark Antony in the accusative, with cohortibus, which is plural, the cum takes the ablative, 5. So with 5 cohorts, Arentium in the accusative, mittit, he sent. So this would be Caesar would be sending Mark Antony from Ariminus to Arentium with 5 cohorts. And so Caesar's telling the story that he wanted to negotiate, but himself, Ipsi, Caesar himself, at Irimenes, this is a locative, that's where he was at, subsisted. So he halted there or stayed there with duobus. This would be duobus cohortibus, with 2 cohorts, and Ibi, and there, quis the enclitic, a delectum habere institute. So he decided in the perfect habere delectum, to have a delectus. So we know Pompey had a delectus, he had a recruitment, and Caesar's having a recruitment. And these are the places, you can see from the capital letters that they're proper nouns. So Pisorum, Farnum, Ancona, singulus cohorta but occupy. So yeah, he occupied these 3 places with a single cohort each. Okay, 12. Interior. Meanwhile, certior factus, these go together. Factus is a past passive. They usually go T or S, and I think there's 4 in the third that have X and S pretty much are the same thing. So certior factus means he was informed. Uguvium, this is a place. Thermum the praetor, so at Iguvium, with cohortibus 5 tenere, which is being held by the praetor Thermus. This is Oppidum, so the Iguvium is a town and it's being fortified. It's held by this praetor Thermus. And omnium, and of all, basically it means. So here we have a genitive and a genitive of the townspeople. So in all of the Ugovites, or whatever you want to call them in English, optimum erga se, erga is the preposition and se is towards himself, had optimum voluntatem. They had voluntatem as their will. So the will towards himself was optimum, was good. Curionem cum tribus cordibus, so this is curio with 3 cohorts, quas which Pisaurus and Aramenius habit, which he was having, or which he had there at Pisorum and Arimium, mittit, he sent. So you want to put that there? So he was informed this town was being held and being fortified, and so the townspeople had good thoughts towards him, so he sent Curio 3 cohorts there. Quis adventu cognito. This is our ablative, so cognito adventu, with knowledge of his advent, his arrival. Quis means of his, arrival known, cognito. Diffisus, this is a adjective or past passive of, it's got the S there, so it's probably past passive. Distrustful it means. Of the will voluntate municipi, of the town. Thermus, he's the guy, he was the praetor, so he's distrustful of the will of the townspeople. So what's he do? He cohorts ex urbe reducits. So he leads out or releads the cohorts from the city ex urbe, and he profugates, he flees. The milites, the soldiers, in itinerary, we have in itineraries in English, but this is in with the ablative. So on the route or on the journey, abe, from him, discedunt. So the soldiers, plural, they left him while they were on the march on this journey, and domum reverantur. So they returned home. Curio, summa omnium voluntate. So curio, we have summa voluntate with the will omnium of all. He recipited, he recovered Ugivium, the town. Quibus rebus cognitus. Starting off with the ablative absolute. So with these things, quibus is the pronoun, rebus is things, and cognitus is the verb. So with these things, rebus is cognitus, they were known. Confissus, here we go. It's the supine of the word for confident, or confido. Again, it has S in it there before the last letter, so probably a past passive. Relying on the voluntatibus, which is the will, again, separated here by the genitive of the townspeople. Caesar, he's our nominative. So with these things known, Caesar, confessus, relying on the will of the people, or the goodwill of the people. Cohorts legionibus 13, ex praesidus decurret. So Caesar, he leads out the cohorts of the 13th Legion, that's genitive, from their garrison, praesidus, or what they were guarding. Okay, so Profiscator Auximium. So he set out for Auximium, quod, which, Oppidum, which is a town. Attius, here's the nominative of this section. Attius tenebat. He was holding this town, the town quod, which he had introductus his cohortibuses. And so ductus means led and intro means into. So this is the town which he had led his cohorts into, and he was tenebating, he was holding them in clitique, and a delectum, another recruitment. Toto Picine. Throughout all of, what's this in English? Picinum, I guess. He was having a dialectum, a hababating. So this is the same guy. Attius was holding recruitment throughout all of Picinus, for which, again, with ablatives, he had circummissus, he had sent around senatoribus. So he'd sent the senators around trying to get his recruitment done. Okay, 13. Adventu Caesaris cognito. So with the arrival, ablative, cognito, known, genitive of Caesar, Caesaris, the Ducuriones. So these are town councillors. Here's another locative, Auximi. These are the councillors, or the decurions of Auximium. Ad Atticus, Varus, frequentes conveniented. So they convened, they came together in a crowd. Frequentes is a present participle, so they were crowded together. They came to Attius Varus. Docent, they taught or they informed, sua judicio rem non esse. So they were saying or informing that the rem, the matter, was non esse, was not to be for sua judicia, for their own judgment. They weren't to decide. Nequi say, neither themselves, nequi reliquos municipis, nor the rest of the towns, posse are able, patio, passive infinitive, neither can they endure or suffer, Caesarem impetorum. These are appositions. So neither themselves or the remaining of the town are able to endure the power of Caesar the Imperator, the general. Belle de Republica meritum, who concerning the Republic, de Republica, has meritum, is deemed worthy of, or he's merited things bene, which have done well. Intentus rebus gestus, the gestus is the things he's done. These are ablative plurals. Tantus is such things, rebus is the things, gestus. So he's merited things well concerning the Republic, and he's done all these great things. Opero moenibus qui prohiberate. So we had this, that they can't prohibit him from their town and their walls. Proindi, it's an adverb, means so then. Habeat, this is a subjunctive. Rationem posteritatus et periculi suae. So then, they should have a reasoning. It probably means consider. They should let them consider their reasoning for the posterity, that's for the future, and periculi suae as their own danger. So consider that. Quorum oratione promotus Varus. So Varus is promoted. He's moved, basically, or excited, or he's very moved. Per usually means very much. Of this oration, or by this oration, of which Varus was very moved, the presidium, this is the garrison, quod, which, that's a relative neuter, of which he had introductor added, and which he had let in, this garrison which he let in, ex oppido he ducated. So he led it out from the town, and he profugated, he fled. Hunc, as you know, it's a accusative for male. Ex primo ordine, from the front rows, or orders, porci Caesaris, a few of Caesar, milites, a few of Caesar's soldiers, milites, from the front rows, consecutide hunc. They followed him. Consistere coegeronted. And they compelled him or forced him consistere to stop or to halt. Commissio prolio. Again, we're in the blade. So with the battle commissioned, or they actually had been a fight, they committed the battle. Desertor a suis Varus. There's probably meant to be a gap there. So Varus was deserted by his own men when this battle had commenced. Non nulla means some, so it's not none. Pars, again, that's a position in nominative. So some, a part, militum of this military, of these soldiers, discredited domum. They left to go home. Domum's towards. Reliqui, the rest, ad Caesarem, to Caesar, perveniat. They reached Caesar. Atqui and una, it's as one or together. Cum eus, with them, eus is them. Deprensus L. Pupius, with L. Pupius deprensus, so they'd grabbed hold of him. With Lucius Pupius grabbed, and together with themselves. We have a comma here. Primi Pili Centurion. So this is describing Pupius. He was a Prima Pilio Centurion, which is the highest, one of the highest ranking centurions. Adjucata, which just means they led home. This first group went home. The second one reached Caesar, so they were leading together with them this guy that they'd grabbed. Qui, who, hunc, he, eodem ordinem. He held the same order, the same rank in exercitu, in the army. Gnaeus Pompey. Antioduxrat. Okay, before he had been leading in the army of Pompey, and that was he had held the eonum, the same rank. At Caesar, but Caesar, milites, probably would have to be accusative. Ationos, this would have to be some form of description that goes with the soldiers. So, but Caesar collaudated it, so he praised them. That L turns into a double L. It's usually from com or con. So Caesar, he praised this would be Attinus. What's his name? Attius's soldiers, yeah. And he demitted, he dismissed Pupius, and he agated gratias. So he gave thanks to the auximatibus, these are the people of that town, sequi, and themselves, facti, and the deeds eorum of them, memorum fore pollicator. So he gave thanks to these people for their facti, for their deeds, and he promised, fores the future, he would be memorum eorum. He would be memorable, he'd be mindful of them, he would think of them in the future.